Top MLB prospect Evan Carter of the Texas Ranger has gotten called up to the bigs. Tyler Glasnow has been absolutely dominant this season when healthy. Join me today as I talk about young players that are making an impact and players whose stock is rising for 2024 on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Today, I'm riding solo. Once again, Matt's got this last couple of days off, so, bear with me here on today's episode. But if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to us on the Subtext website. Through Subtext, it's a one-on-one, in-depth, personalized experience with text messages going right to your phones. If you were around today, you got the news that Evan Carter got called up. If you were around yesterday, you got the news that Jordan Lawler got called up. And this is that most important time of year when you want to make sure that you're locked on with all of these alerts right to your phone. And you can ask us any questions that you need to for your fantasy baseball playoffs. Hopefully you're out there doing great and we can help you secure that Locked On Fantasy Baseball championship. And guys, real quick, today's sponsor for today's episode is Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter the promo code LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle with any order. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you that. And Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. As always, let us be your team secret weapon as I talk to you about young players making an impact and players to watch out for in 2024. So, guys, we're going to be jumping around a little bit here today. We're going to talk about, as I mentioned, some young players that have just been absolutely out there dominating, looking great. And then we're going to talk about players that have really risen their stock from where they were coming into this year to where we think that they're going to go in 2024. But we got to start with the big news here. Evan Carter getting called up to the show to play with those Texas Rangers. Now, Evan Carter, yesterday we got the 10th overall prospect in Jordan Lawler. Today we get the 8th overall prospect in Evan Carter. We know that Texas Rangers team is pretty good, even though, they had a little tough out in there against the Astros. But Evan Carter, 21 years old, 6'2", 190. He's got, decent power. That hit tool is plus. The run grade is plus. And just overall, he's a great young player who's having a monster year in the minors. So this year in the minors, Evan Carter, 288 batting average, over 108 games, 420 at-bats, 79 runs, 17 doubles, 6 triples, 13 homers, 67 RBIs with 26 steals. So, the sad news here is that Adolis Garcia goes down with a knee issue. He's going to miss at least the next 10 days. That really stinks going into the fantasy baseball playoffs. But you know what? Guess what? Evan Carter's out there. You go pick him up. And, he may not do everything that Adolis can do, but I think he'll be a decent replacement. Let's see where Evan Carter is at now at my time of recording here on Thursday, 7:19 p.m. 5% owned. He's out there in almost every single league. So go out there, you snag him, and you kind of ride the wave. I'm a really big fan of Evan Carter. Matt and I have talked him up a lot as we were telling you players to watch out for. And, the time is now with Evan Carter. I think he's going to slide into that lineup. Maybe, let's say, around maybe like that 6-7 hole. I would say definitely at least in the 7 spot. Hopefully he can get that 6 spot. RBIs are going to be probably good for him. Power is, something that he's working on. Maybe he puts on another 10, 15 pounds in the off season of muscle. That power will grow even more. But, the speed is very good. The plate discipline's good. The batting average is good. So Evan Carter is definitely a guy you're going to want to keep your eyes on. Now, let's move on here. Let's talk about this next guy. And as a Yankee fan, I could not be more excited for the way this kid is playing, and it's Jasson Dominguez. We gave you guys the alert when he got called up, and he's living up to the hype so far. I'm going to be honest with you. Through his, I believe it's 5 games, right? Let me just double check that here. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games so far. He's got a 333 batting average, 5 runs, 3 homers, 5 RBIs. He's been hitting third in pretty much every single game except that first game. So, Jasson Dominguez is definitely a guy that you can go out there and still pick up in almost half of Yahoo League, well, over half of Yahoo Leagues, because he's only 48% owned. I think Dominguez is just, there's a reason they call him the Martian, right? He's 5'9", 190, not very tall, but a stocky guy with some muscle on him. He had a very, very good year in the minors. He started off a little bit sluggish, but he picked it up. The total numbers on the year in the minors look very good. 118 games, 456 at-bats, 89 runs, 22 doubles, 3 triples, 15 homers, 76 RBIs with 40 steals. And then, the plate discipline was actually pretty solid with 83 walks to 133 strikeouts and a 265 batting average for Dominguez. I truly, truly love the potential of this kid at only 20 years old to already be getting the call and playing in the big leagues. And, through the first 5, I know it's a very, very small sample size, but I really like what he's bringing to the table. The Yankees have looked better with him in that lineup and him hitting third. It's just the sky's the limit for Dominguez next year. I think he'll wind up being a potential top 100 pick just because of the upside and everyone knows the name with Dominguez. So I don't know if I'm going to buy into that next year. We'll see how he finishes up the season. But right now, I mean, you can't go wrong if he's still out there in your fantasy league and you pick him up for this, heater that he's on in the playoffs, because I think there's not enough time for the pitchers to really adjust back to Dominguez, because the kid looks great, and then they're not even just like overwhelming him with fastballs. They're hitting him with the breaking stuff. He's hitting that. He's hitting the fastballs. He's really just showing, why they call him the Martian. But that's enough about Dominguez and my little Yankee fan rant on him. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Davis Schneider. Another small, stocky dude. Another guy that's the exact size of Dominguez, 5'9", 190, Davis Schneider. Over there for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's looked really, really good. Another small sample size, but those numbers are really just overwhelming at this point for Davis Schneider. 20 games, 65 at-bats, 18 runs, 7 doubles, a triple, 7 homers, 19 RBIs. He's chipped in a steal, 385 batting average, 15 walks to 22 strikeouts for Davis Schneider. Another young guy. He's only 24 years old. Had a pretty strong year in the minors, 87 games, 309 at-bats, 61 runs, 21 doubles, a triple, 21 homers, 64 RBIs, 9 steals, 72 walks to 86 strikeouts, and a 275 batting average. So obviously he's not going to live at that 385 batting average he has in the majors this year so far. But I think, once again, just another guy that there's not a lot of time for those pitchers to make those adjustments here through the final couple of weeks, that he could just keep on raking and doing well. Honestly, I'm not even going to shorten up the stats, because I just read them to you through his first 20 games, and they look great. He's only 56% owned on Yahoo. He's got that second base eligibility. Second base has been very, very tough out there. So I really think you can rock out with Davis Schneider the rest of the way, and he's going to perform very, very well. But guys, real quick, before we move on here, I just got a quick sponsor for you guys, and I'm talking about Bird Dogs. Now, with Bird Dogs, obviously, as I mentioned, they're the sponsor of today's episode. So if you're looking for clothes that redefine comfort and style, look no further than Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs makes you look good with those Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs has fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any movement. Bird Dogs uses an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Bird Dogs shorts do the exact same things as Lululemon, but they fit way better. Bird Dogs just sent Matt and I Bird Dogs has been sending Matt and I a lot of great stuff, and we absolutely love the shorts. We love the gear. Matt and I are huge Bird Dogs fans. So if you want to join this Bird Dogs wave with Matt and I, you go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB, and when you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamond Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Get your hands on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, instant reactions, and enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join our Diamond Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And guys, I know it's football time of year, and you might be starting to think, oh, well, I could tune out a little bit with baseball. But hey, if you join Matt and I on the Subtext website in our Diamond Club, you get the opportunity to, you can maybe tune out baseball because you're getting those direct alerts right to your phone. You would have got the Jordan Lawler call up. You would have got the Dominguez call up. You would have got the Evan Carter call up. And, Matt and I just give you guys a lot of bang for your buck there on the Subtext website in the Diamond Club. Everybody that's there is really enjoying it. You get a lot of perks. And just, in a time of year when you're competing for a championship, you really just want to stay locked on. And, Matt and I are giving you that opportunity on the Subtext website. So, please check us out and join us on there. But let's keep things pushing. The show got to keep on going, right? Let's talk about, a guy who's really changed his, fantasy value going into next year. It's Cody Bellinger. And man, honestly, I'm not shocked, right? I'm not shocked, but it's a really bounce back year, a comeback player of the year effort here for Cody Bellinger. So on the year, through 418 at-bats, he has 84 runs, 24 homers, 86 RBIs, 19 steals, and a .321 batting average. Now, if you're new to fantasy baseball and you don't know about Cody Bellinger, former MVP, former guy who's, came up and just, dominated 6'4", 203. He gets a new breath of life here with the Cubs. And, sometimes those, players on a new team in their first year don't really translate. And Cody Bellinger has proved that wrong. Even former rookie of the year, this guy is. And, he really just struggled the last 3 years in a row with the Dodgers. 2020, 239 batting average through 56 games. In 2021, he had 165 batting average through 95 games. And then last year through 144 games, he had a 210 batting average. So it was really nice to see Cody Bellinger back with that batting average over 300 with, the 24 bombs, the powers back, the 19 steals with those bigger bases. Cody Bellinger is out there, getting it done. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody Bellinger is like a second-round pick next year. He's still 27 years old. He's going to be 28 next year. Cody Bellinger's back, and I'm buying back in. Even the plate discipline has improved so much. Last year, through the 144 games, Cody Bellinger had 38 walks to 150 strikeouts. And this year, through only 109 games, he almost matched that walk total with 32 walks to 74 strikeouts. Looks way, way better than it did last year. All of the signs of him bouncing back are looking really positive. So next year, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, Cody Bellinger, second-round pick, third-round pick. The upsides there. The Cubs look a lot better than they have in the last few years. So, they put a little bit more in that lineup, in the offseason. I could totally see, Cody Bellinger paying off next season. Let's talk about another guy who just really bouncing back, bringing that old fantasy value that he used to have back, and it's Marcell Ozuna. I know we've talked about Ozuna a lot, but I'm just a huge fan of Ozuna, and, he kind of was, not doing the best things last year, got into a little bit of trouble off the field. And, he's been banged up over the last couple of years here and there too, as Bellinger was. So it's really nice to see Ozuna, get back into things. And let's just talk about what he's done so far this year. I know he's 32, but for next year, in a time when outfielders are good outfielders are a dime a dozen, Ozuna's just really standing out. So Ozuna, 122 games this year, 441 at-bats, 73 runs, 22 doubles, 33 homers, 78 RBIs, and a 272 batting average. And let's not forget, Ozuna is a career 270 hitter. He's got a lot of seasons with, high 20s homers. He had that one season in 2017 with 37 homers. So this is the first year since 2017 that he's gone 30 plus, even though he did hit 29 back in 2019. And Ozuna's right in the middle of that, Braves lineup, hitting fourth. And I think he'll be there again next year, hitting fourth, driving in those runs. And if he could, stay on the field and stay healthy and just keep playing those games, 100 RBIs with 85 runs and 40 homers with a plus batting average is not out of the question for Ozuna. So honestly, I see Ozuna being a top 20 outfielder going into next year. And if you get him as like your outfielder 2, I think you're going to be pretty happy. And then if you could even steal him as your outfielder number 3, you're going to be really sitting pretty at that point, because Ozuna's just great. He's been very good his whole career, up and down at times, but, he was banged up last year, banged up in 2021. And then even if you go back to 2020, which isn't that long ago, he had an MVP caliber season where in 60 games, he had 18 home runs, 338 batting average, just looked like, one of the best players in all of baseball. I think he finished 6th in the MVP voting that year. So I'm not afraid of Marcel Ozuna. I'm embracing the comeback. Only thing is that he might be a little bit injury prone, but honestly, everybody can get hurt. I know some players are more injured than others. Matt and I love to talk about, Alberto Mondesi and Buxton and how those guys got their own wing in the hospital. But Ozuna's not there yet with them. But I think I'm going to trust him going into next year. So from that, we're going to transition from hitters. We're going to get into pitchers here, and we're going to talk about somebody I teased at the top, and it's Tyler Glasnow. And man, oh man, if Tyler Glasnow did not get hurt going into the season, he honestly was looking like a top 20 pick at starting pitcher. And I mean, I think next year, this guy is going to be, honestly, a top 10 starting pitcher for me. He had that oblique at the beginning of the season, which really kept him out a while, kept him limited. But, the numbers on the season look very, very, very good. So on the year through 17 starts, he's 8 wins, 5 losses, Tyler Glasnow, a 3.07 ERA, 99 innings, 134 strikeouts with a 1.02 whip. And this guy, we just know, we know how good he is. We know how good Tyler Glasnow is. That fastball is very good, sits around 97. The slider is a wipeout slider, 90 miles an hour. And the curveball, is another good pitch for him at 84 miles an hour. So that you love that range of, velocity. You're really going to keep people off their, on their toes with that. And like I said, I really love what Glasnow's doing. Not much else to say. His last effort was absolutely dominant. I believe he had 14 strikeouts. Him and Schneider are really only of the 2 guys that you kind of see those kind of upside with strikeouts. Garrett Cole as well. I know when Ohtani was rocking and rolling. But if you look at his starts from July 15th, the strikeouts have been super consistent with 7, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7. Then he had a 4 strikeout game, which was a little bit low. And then he came back with a 6 strikeout game and then 14 against Boston. Boston's been a pretty good team this year. So I really, really trust Tyler Glasnow, and I think his value is through the roof going into next year. He's just really got to stay on the field because, I did talk about injury-prone players, and he's kind of been one of those guys. If you're going back all the way to 2016 with the Pirates, just really had a lot of problems, shoulder issues, forearm issues, UCL issues. It's just really been, a tough time with the Tommy John and all that stuff for Glasnow. But I honestly think that he's going to put together one monster season where he throws 180 innings, 250 strikeouts, a sub-3 ERA, and like a 1 whip, a clean 1 whip, or even a sub-1 whip is not out of the question for a guy like Glasnow with the talent that he has. Honestly, could be next year at 30 years old for Glasnow. So I'm not afraid to take him. I might be afraid to take him as my SP1. Not going to lie to you. But if you can get Glasnow as your SP2 next year, that's going to be sneaky value because I honestly think I'm going to rank him as, a top 10 starting pitcher, which is an SP1. But I don't know if I'm going to take him there. We'll see how he finishes off the season. If he finishes off the season strong, maybe I will be willing to take him as an SP1. So next we're going to move on to a player that Matt and I really did not have a lot of faith in, and I think he's proved us wrong. Matt and I have had a lot of strong takes this year, but, no human's perfect, and we honestly can't hit them all. It's Jasson Steele. And, man, honestly, guy has stolen the show this year. No pun intended there with that one. So the 27-year-old Jasson Steele, 16 wins, 3 losses, 2.55 ERA through 26 starts, 152 innings, 153 strikeouts, and a 113 whip. The guy has absolutely turned it on this year. As I was saying, when I was talking about Bellinger, the Cubs just have kind of really turned that corner. I don't know if a lot of people saw it coming this year. I certainly didn't. But, Steele's just been really, really good this year. Fastball is great. Breaking pitches are great. If you're talking about, velocity this year, he's not really blowing you away with that velocity at 92, but the changeup is, pretty solid. He throws a nice slider as well. Slider's pretty good at 83, so there is a nice little difference there on that. So I like Steele. I don't know where I'm ranking him as far as next year goes, maybe he's a top 25, 30 pitcher. If I can get him as like an SP3, 4, I'd be happy with it. I'm not taking him as one of my first two because I want to see a little bit more from Steele after the big breakout year this year. Even though last year he was pretty solid as well, Justin Steele with the 3.18 ERA, 119 innings, 126 Ks. The whip was at a 1.35, but he's really found his control this year to keep it, down. So, maybe he's a top 25 guy. Maybe he is a number 3 starting pitcher, honestly. Maybe that's where he's going to wind up. I just want to see him finish out the year strong. Want to see how he looks next year in spring training. And honestly, you might be able to ride the wave here with Justin Steele. I apologize to the man because, I didn't have faith, and he's really proved me and anyone else who didn't believe in him wrong this year. But let's keep things pushing here. Let's talk about, one of Matt and I's boys who we were very, very excited about coming into this year, and it's Brandon Woodruff. And with, old Woody, he had, the right shoulder issue this year. He had, a lot of issues last year with that Raynaud syndrome in his hand. He had an ankle problem last year. So it's a guy who's been banged up over the last couple of years. But when Brandon Woodruff is out there, he's absolutely dominant. And since he's come off the IL, we kind of really see why that dominance is there. Brandon Woodruff, I'm not going to lie to you. He's a top 10 starting pitcher going into next year. 6'4", 244, big boy. He got to, come along the ways with the types of Freddie Peralta and Corbin Burns. And just look at his numbers on the year. I know it's only 8 starts, but they've been dominant. 4-1 for Woodruff, 2.30 ERA, 47 innings, 55 strikeouts, and a 0.78 whip. He's done nothing but be dominant. If you go all the way back to, 2019, honestly, even before that, even 2018, Woodruff had a strong year, even though it was only 4 starts. But the guy's absolutely dominant, and there's not really much else to say about Woodruff except you have to believe in him going into next year because, there's no reason you shouldn't. But guys, real quick, before I move on here and, I talk about our last 2 guys here, and they're big name guys, so you really want to, stay locked on here. I have to talk to you about today's other sponsor, and it's FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $500 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And come on, I know you guys are all excited and ready for football because I certainly am. And that $100 off offer is absolutely enticing to me. So I'm going to have to chime in there on FanDuel and, do it as well. So that's why now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. All right, guys, as I said, 2 more names here and then I'm going to head out. And this next one, man, has really, really come out of left field, and it's Cole Ragans of the Kansas City Royals. He came over at the trade deadline and, from the Texas Rangers, and he's just really been dominant. The Kansas City Royals were able to tap into something that the Rangers weren't. Honestly, even on the year, the numbers have looked fantastic at this point. 72 innings, 6 wins, 87 strikeouts, a 3 ERA, and a 1.11 whip. Now, the thing with Ragans is they've unlocked this next level with him, the Kansas City Royals. He's throwing way harder. He's topped out at, 102 miles an hour, where he was nowhere near that with Texas. 6'4", 190, big lefty. This kid puts on a little bit more weight. He's going to be super, super intimidating. And honestly, that guy's a top 40 pitcher going into next year. I'm going to hope that people really, didn't see all the noise that he made. And, you can get him a little bit cheaper in drafts. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm hoping it is. But let's just talk about his 8 starts with the Kansas City Royals. It's 4-4 because, that's just the Royals. But, 47 innings, 63 strikeouts, only 11 walks. The whip is out like a 1. The ERA is a 1.51. The FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, it's an ERA indicator, is a 1.64. Batters are hitting 205 against him in that stretch. He's throwing a crazy amount of strikes. A lot of looking strikes, a lot of swinging strikes, 16% swinging strike rate, which is great. Honestly, Cole Ragans is just a name that you're going to want to keep your eye on for next year, because I think the kid is going to have a monster year next year. He's only 25 years old, so the breakout is, very, very realistic. Honestly, like I said, I'm going to probably have him inside my top 40 next year. And, coming up at some point, I've been working on my rankings here. So we might do a little early rankings preview type episode with Matt and I, if Matt gets his rankings together, and talk to you about some of the guys that we love going into next year. Kind of want to give you a little preview type of thing on this episode. And the last guy I'm going to talk about tonight is my boy, one of my favorite players coming into this year. I had a lot of faith in him, and I'm glad I did. It's Blake Snell. Blake Snell has just been absolutely dominant. If you don't know Blake Snell, former Cy Young Award winner, a little bit of a guy that's a little bit out there, a little bit crazy, but you know what? Sometimes that craziness paid off, because Snell in his age 30 season, 12 wins, 9 losses, a 2.50 ERA through 28 starts, 155 innings, 201 strikeouts, and he has a 1.25 whip. The control is something that Snell has always struggled with. 89 walks on the year. I think that's league leading, or at least in the NL it is. So, he leaves a little bit to be desired, but honestly, you can't be mad at the way this guy has pitched. I'm going to break it down, because I know he started off pretty tough this year. So I'm going to show you when he really got back into it. It's his last, it looks like 18 starts, maybe. Double checking myself here. 19 starts through Snell's last 19 starts. 110 innings, 153 strikeouts, a 1.31 ERA, a 2.93 FIP, and a 1.65 batting average against. And he's just been absolutely dominant. Honestly, the whip was still a little bit high over that time. So once again, probably like a 1-2 whip, but you'll take that with the strikeouts. You'll take that with the ERA. Honestly, he's had batters fooled all year. He's got nasty stuff. The fastball is good. The breaking stuff is good. Blake Snell, honestly, another guy that I wouldn't be mad at him as my SP1 next year. I'm probably going to have him inside my top 10. I love Blake Snell. And I just think he can continue the dominance if he keeps pitching the way that he's pitched over the end of last year and through pretty much all of this year. So Blake Snell, another guy that has really risen his stock going into next year. But guys, that's pretty much all for today. Once again, if you got any of those burning fantasy baseball questions, check Matt and I out on Subtext. We really want to help you get those Locked On Fantasy Baseball championships. If we've helped you at all this year, or have made any impact in your fantasy baseball life, leave us a little review on Apple or Spotify, comment on YouTube, throw us a like, subscribe, all that stuff. We truly appreciate all of our fans, our everydays, and new listeners. You guys mean a lot to us. We wouldn't be where we are without you guys. But once again, that's all for today. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Matt and I will be back in tandem on Monday. We're going to be talking about must-add players from the weekend. We're going to help you guys out, going into, maybe week 2, or maybe even your fantasy baseball championship. So, Matt and I are there for you guys. But until Monday, see you.